I sat with Cheska and I poured my heart out. I was like, I'm struggling. Is it okay? Can you go back? I just want me to recharge myself. And she was like, sure. I understand. I was hoping to stay until, Monday. And I was like, that doesn't work because Anne and John will be back by then. I just need to heal myself. The guilt that is surfacing for not being there for Anne, I am struggling with it. So you're feeling great. How about we just, you can just go back. It's been 5 days. And she was like, fine. So I was like, so she said she will spend some time at her new boyfriend, because she connected with somebody. So after Christmas, which was the next day after the Christmas show, she proposed that she will go to her friend in Brooklyn and spend the night there, and then leave afterwards. Great. So we chatted, we laughed, we ate a great dinner, and she said she would change her ticket, and everything was set up. The next day we were going to the Christmas show, and she will pack her bags, and after dinner in the city, we'll drop her in Brooklyn, and so she can have more fun with her new acquaintance, and then go home from there. And John and Anne will be leaving. So I was like, silence. I was looking forward to just recharging and healing myself, because even the anxiety, that was now 2 weeks that I was not at work. So that was adding up, right? But thankfully, the last week of the year, the office was closed. So it was like, I just could fully recharge myself and heal, which is what I like to do. So what happened is that the Christmas day came on, and as I woke up, Cheska was on the phone with my brother Rogelio, and for those of you, if you listening, you have listened to the older journal, uh, the prior journal. My brother Rogelio had stopped talking to me because of that event that happened. So as I heard she was talking to him, I was like, hey, what's up, how you doing? I said hi, and he said hi to my daughter, as I was making breakfast and setting her up. So it is in that moment, that morning, first thing I woke up setting breakfast, that Cheska announced to my brother Rogelio that I was kicking her out of my place. You see, yeah, the patterns started repeating themselves. And shocked by this statement, because she said it laughing. So shocked by this statement, I was like, no, what are you saying? I'm not kicking you out. You and I talked about it yesterday. You were fine with it. We agreed and you understood. And in that moment, she was like, no, you are kicking me out. So I just shrugged. I was like, at the end of the day, I could barely stand. And I had to make breakfast for my daughter. So I was like, I didn't even have the energy to address it. I was just like, no, this is not, I'm not kicking you out, Cheska. You have stayed, you have been welcome for the last 5 days. It's been nice catching up with you. So she stepped out for a walk. So I set Anne up and ate breakfast. So we spent the afternoon, and it was time to get ready to go to the Christmas show that afternoon. All of us. John was gonna come. He was gonna drive, and we were all gonna go to the Christmas show and have dinner in the city, just like we planned. And it is in that moment that Cheska, she came back, and now she called my sister Kali and started saying also, Jenny's kicking me out. And I started paying attention. I was like, what is this happening? Are you not getting ready? John will be here in an hour. We will be heading to the city because there's going to be a lot of traffic. So please get ready and start packing up, because we will drop you in Brooklyn afterwards. It is in that moment that she said that she will not be going to the show. You see, yeah, and she got my attention. And I was actually shaking because it took a lot of effort to even just get up and take a shower, right? So shocked by this statement, I was like, come again? Um, so it is in that moment that she said, yeah, I'm not going to go to the show, I'm going to stay. And I was like, well, yeah, but you are supposed to be leaving tonight. Will you be going to your friend's place on your own? So that when she said, I will not be going to my friend's place, I'm going to stay. I'm like, what is going on? I cannot be, things are tight, and he's leaving at 6 a.m. the next day on a flight with John. There's Christmas present. I was like, this is the only time. This is Christmas Day for my daughter. It's a big deal. She's been waiting all year talking about this moment. As a parent, you don't want to fuck this up. So I was like, what is going on? And in that moment, she called my sister Kali and was shouting and started shouting and saying that, I'm kicking her out. I was in my underwear. I wasn't even dressed. I just finished taking a shower. I could not walk. I was like, hunched over, barely standing. If anybody has COVID out there, you know what I'm talking about. So as she was expressing that to my sister Kali, over the phone, she called her in Switzerland and was complaining. I was like, Cheska, I'm not sure what is going on, but do you see what you're doing to me? I started shaking. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not kicking you out. Come on, let's go to the Christmas show. Let's have dinner. You're going to go hang out with your newfound, boyfriend. You have a lovely time. I just want quiet. I just want to recharge, for a couple of days. It's not personal. So it is in that process that she started saying that, no, she will not leave. She will stay around and she will stick around and it is her decision. And she was calling everybody and stating that I was kicking her out. And as she was on the phone with Kali, she started calling me names, right? She started saying, you are a horrible person, you are evil, you are this. And as Anne was there and was observing her calling me with this name, Anne started crying. So in that moment, I told Anne, step in the bedroom, put on your headphone, party pooper mom is coming out. This is the name I gave my shadow, so Anne doesn't feel frightened. I will expand on that later when Party Pooper Jan comes out, because my spirit animals, I didn't do the shadow work then, right? So when this aspect of myself stepped out, I called the Party Pooper Jan. That means the shit is about to hit the fan. So Anne stepped in the bedroom, locked the door, and was on her iPad. And it is then that I confronted my sister. I was like, what the fuck is going on? You and I have sat, we have a lovely dinner, we talked. You specifically told me that you understood what was happening, and you supported me. You agreed that you were going to change your ticket for Saturday morning. We are now Friday. I bought the show ticket for you, and I specifically told you that it was non-refundable. You're refusing to come to the show. Now you're refusing to leave. What is happening? And it is in that moment, and you have to pay attention. It is in that moment that she said, just like in New York before, you are kicking me out. So she exposed the pattern. I wasn't even conscious of it. I was too sick. So as she exposed the pattern, I was like, yeah, I see. Yeah, I repeated it. I didn't want it. I wasn't feeling good. And out of compassion, because she just broke up with her boyfriend, I extended that that understanding and invited her over. So this is what it gave, right? So in that moment, I was like, no matter what happens, you're going home. You are going home. And she refused. And she was screaming and everything. That's when John came, right? And John witnessed that. And I told John, because it was time to go, right? Either we left in that moment or we couldn't make it to the show. And it was a great show for my daughter, right? So I told John to go downstairs with Anne and wait in the car because my sister will be leaving. And in confronting her, right? The energy and the resentment I felt in that moment for how I felt manipulated, but it was just me facing myself, things I contributed and enabled around me, right? So in expressing that resentment, she felt the energy, and she felt it in her heart. It was so painful, she held on to her heart, and I had to give her a glass of water. And it is in that moment that she begged me. She was like, Jen, please, can I just take the time to pack my bag and I'm gonna leave? And I was like, do you wanna leave or do you want us to drop you in Brooklyn like we agreed upon? She was like, no, I wanna leave by myself. So I was like, and I will not be around by the time you come back. Fine. Then I gave her the space. I left. I took Neta, I took Anne and John, and we went to the show. And as we returned back, she was not around. And as we were watching the show, throughout the show, she sent messages to John and started saying to John that she didn't have anywhere to go and if she could stay at his place. So John was like, Jen, what is happening? What is going on with you guys? You guys keep putting Anne into this situation. And he was right. My family kept putting me in situation with Anne, and I didn't know what to do. So in that moment, I expressed to him, specifically, I was like, do not get mixed up in this, okay? This is exposing a lot, and I don't want you mixed up in it. So he expressed it to Cheska, Jen has asked me to step out. This is between you two. I will not participate. And after that, Kali from Switzerland called me several times, and then I stayed in silence. I would not participate. So then she sent me a message and said, what is going on? You have kicked Cheska out of the house. She has nowhere to go on Christmas Day during the winter. This is on you, blah, blah. I stayed silent. So then Kali from Switzerland again called John and asked him if Cheska could stay at his place. And all of this was going on, and I was just confused. I was like, this person has made plan with her boyfriend. She was supposed to go there tonight, and she has changed her ticket for tomorrow morning. So I was totally baffled and confused. So on our way back, as she kept texting John, I called her. I was like, what is going on? What's happening? Where are you? And she told me that she was at the train station. And I was like, what happened to you? You spending the night at your friend's place and leaving tomorrow. You specifically told me this, and you packed and you left. She said nothing. So I went, I picked her up from the train station, okay? Anne had opened up her gift and she was playing with it, right? I played with her because the next day she would leave for Florida. And as we brought Cheska home, it is in that moment that Cheska told me that she doesn't have a ticket to leave the next day. So I was shocked. I was like, but you said you were gonna change your ticket. And you have done so, and you had all this plan that you communicated to me. So I'm a little bit confused. What is happening? So she told me she couldn't change her ticket. It is in that moment that I reached out to John again and asked him for the money, right? Because I used my last $100 to buy her a ticket for the show. So I asked John to borrow money, and he did. I am so grateful, and I bought her another ticket for the next morning. And I'm like, no matter what you do, no matter what, you are going home, right? Because I need to heal for my daughter. Um, you know, so the next day, as Anne left with John for Florida, uh, Jessica got ready, and I offered to drive her to the train station or to the city so she can catch her bus. And it is in that moment that she told me, you didn't need to buy me a ticket. I could have just changed my ticket myself. You know, I had the ticket and I could have changed it to go. And it burned. It burned. I was like, wow, wow, this is beautiful. I was like, wow, yeah. So it exposed how I have been enabling and how the pattern repeated itself. If you see the email I read in Stepping Out in My Truth, you'll see how this has surfaced at a juncture in my career when I was living on my own in the city. So the pattern repeated itself and the same thing happened. And I was like, wow, this is what taught me. This was the event, the specific event where I started going boundaries. She taught me how to set boundaries. So I set boundaries. And as she left the house, she was like, no, I don't want you to give me a ride. And she left. I waited and then sent her a message in Canada to make sure that she has arrived well, and told her that I am only taking this experience as a lesson because it has exposed a lot for me. I have no resentment and I'm letting it go. But from now on, I set her free. You know, you are free. From now on, this is it. I want silence and peace, right? And as soon as I said that, the next day, I felt better. No more COVID. Everything was healed. So this has exposed a lot for me. And this, I had to share this perspective, right? This is why. And then she started saying the only thing that hurt her was and crying, right? But this is it. People start claiming that all they worry about, everybody's gonna say the right thing. Oh, I care for your daughter. Oh, she's my niece. I care for her. I love her, you know. But yet in that moment, it didn't matter, you know. All these manipulations happened, and she didn't care. When Anne was crying, she just kept calling me names. But Anne just cried because for her to hear her mom being called an evil person and a heartless person was frightening, right? And she was exposed to that. And I was like, never again. You know, these are the patterns repeating. Never will my kid be witnessing my own family treating me this way, because it's like this is how we condition and we expose energies. Yeah, so and that's what she said. Just like in the email, it starts going, oh, I love, why would you put boundaries? And that's when I set boundaries. I was like, silence, no more calling, no more talking. I need to face myself. That's when she reached out to John. You know, John has had a lot of resentment towards her because I gave the 19,000, you know, and she has put her, this will be exposed because even as I invested in the business at a point, you know, she navigated all of this, but I will get to it later, right? This will be expanded on. But this is what we call the energy of entitlement, right? So as she sent those responses, when she sent these statements, and I stayed in my silence.
If you think it could be serious, ask me to call emergency services or someone you trust.
Okay, you see. So as I set my boundaries, right, and stayed in silence, and as she responded to me stepping out into my own light, and I accepted, I was like, this is just a reflection of yourself. It's okay. You are allowed to express yourself, but it ends there, right? Guess what happened? She showed up at my door the next day. Yeah, that's right. They don't know. They don't know why they are attracted to my light, right? Yes, even though I said, no, there will be no, she tried calling, nothing passed. She wrote everything. Okay, that's your perspective. you know, and I stayed firm. I stood my ground. So she showed up the next day, rang at my door, and I was like, wow. She rode the bus from Montreal all the way to New Jersey, and came to knock at my door. Wow, this was beautiful. So I opened, I let her in the building. She came up, okay? She came up, all right. And she was ready to come in my apartment. No, you're not welcome to enter. You're not entering. And that was like the first path, me smacking her with my golden dick. You know, she's been enabled to be entitled to my sacred space. Yeah, your home is your sacred inner world. You know, whoever you let in, whoever you invite in, you know, whichever energy you let in is a statement of you not being able to protect yourself, you not standing in your truth, right? So she came, she rode the bus overnight, came first thing in the morning, knocking at my door, thinking that she can step in my apartment. I was like, no, you're not stepping in, you're not welcome. You have not been invited, you know? And I was like, there's a place downstairs we can sit and you can talk, you know? So I went downstairs, we sat, and my statement was, state your intention. Calmly, state your intention. So that's when she expressed, you know, you've been sending all these emails. I'm confused, you know, because you say you want to be alone and, you know, you want peace and you want quiet. And for the last 2 years, I've been quiet. And, you know, and I was like, okay, so if you want to know the reason why I'm sending you this email, and I started talking. And in that moment, as I started talking, she took on her phone and started reading an email, because apparently Kali sent an email in that moment. So she started reading an email. So this is the moment I paused, right? Because the person, her ego, is obviously showing me that, you know, they're not interested in what I want to say. She was showing the energy of, you know, rejection, right? Because I was asked a question, and I was like, okay, fair enough. Let me explain myself. And in that moment, as I started talking, she took her phone and started just reading an email. And I was like, I looked at her. And in that moment, I was like, okay. I paused. I stopped talking. And I was like, state your intention. You know, no more talking. And she started talking, and she said, well, you know, I am all confused, you know, because when I came last time in New York, I didn't even want to come, and started making noise. So I listened, and I was like, state your intention. And that's when she said, yeah, you talk the talk, but you don't walk the walk. Ah, that it is. I was like, yeah, that it is. And he's like, oh, you interrupted me. Yeah. So you drove all the way from Montreal overnight to come and tell me that I talk the talk, but I don't walk the walk. You see, wanting to come into my inner world, my inner sacred space, entitled, and introduce that energy to challenge me in my own light. You see? So you have to be careful. See, this is how Mother Cosmos, the pattern repeated themselves a third time. And this is Mother Cosmos showing me how I have outgrown this aspect of myself. And it was beautiful. I was grateful. So I let her talk, you know. Yeah. She said, she stated her intention. This is why when people start saying, I love you, I care for you, no, this is not the real you. Who are you to contest who I am? You know? Who are you to say what's within my heart as I expressed it? You know? She came all the way, even though boundaries have been set, tried to call, stated everything she had to say, you know? That I am the problem, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. The person is just talking about themselves. So if you get lost into that, if you don't surround them with compassion and love, you cannot see, what it is that Mother Cosmos is trying to show you about yourself, right? You can get lost in resentment. So I surrounded her with compassion. I listened. She defended herself and everything. And I was like, when she finished talking, saying, that I don't talk the talk and I talk the talk, but I don't walk the walk. She's just talking about herself, you see? She's telling me that she's saying the words that I want to hear, but the intention behind it is not true. She's just talking about herself. You see, it's so beautiful. You have to dance when you start. It's like, wow, this is the part of me I didn't appreciate before. It took this suffering for this emergence to take place. You have to be grateful. I was grateful in that moment. So when she finished talking, I was like, next time you are confused about an email, do not write a whole chapter in response. All that shows is that you don't have the capacity to stand in your own truth. And I added on to it because I moved from my old apartment. This is a new apartment, and I asked her, how did you get my address? She was like, well, there's different ways of getting addresses. I got it by myself somewhere else. She didn't want to say, but I knew. You see, people don't see. I see energy. I knew where it came from, and as she left, I called John and I asked him, did you give my new address to Cheska? And he was like, yeah, and I was like, you violated my space. You have not consulted with me before you did this. And his response was, well, you wrote this whole email about our life. So, she came to me, she asked, so I'm going to give it to her. Okay. You have to allow people to speak the truth. You see, he was trying to show me that, as I am stepping out in my truth, he will do whatever he has to do to hide, so I was like, okay. And all that exposed to me, right? All that exposed, don't get lost into things, right? This is how you have to keep affirming yourself. All that exposed is that Cheska has the inability to speak truth. Yeah, you see, people conceal themselves, they wear masks. You have to stand up. You have to affirm this aspect of yourself. So, yeah. So when she finished talking, I was like, okay, goodbye. She, what? Yes, goodbye. There's nothing else to say. You have made your intention clear. Yes, I talk the talk, but don't walk the walk. You didn't have to drive all the way, take a bus all the way from Montreal to tell me that. If you thought you needed to do so, yeah, good for you. Bye-bye. And she left. Yeah, you have to help people grow up. Time to wake the fuck up. Yeah. So after that, she sent me another message. Dear Jen, thank you for seeing me yesterday. I'm glad I got to see you. You have to surround love. Yes, I was glad. Thank you. I am sorry for showing up unannounced, but I really needed to see you. Thank you again for allowing that. I got to think about our interaction on my way back to Montreal and just wanted to let you know that I love you. There it is. I also really appreciated Kali's message to you yesterday. I read Kali's message. I am so grateful she was able to make you feel seen. Something I'm realizing I'm failing terribly at, even though that was my only intention. Yeah, you see, in order to make me feel seen, all of these things have been said about me, right? You see, this is why you have to learn to shut the fuck up and let people talk. Let people expose themselves. And in the silence, you allow them, by just surrounding them with love and compassion, you allow them to really look at themselves, because in the past you react, you feel resentful, you participate and you enable this behavior. And as you are quiet, they expose themselves effortlessly. You know, this takes a lot of suffering to attain this level of, connection to your heart, right? Yeah, so let's continue. I'm so grateful. I also really appreciated Kali's message to you yesterday. I'm so grateful she was able to make you feel seen. Something I'm realizing I'm failing at terribly, even though that was my only intention. I'm sorry my approach was a bit tough, a bit rough. I have nothing but love and compassion for you. I'd like to continue to be included in every and any email you'd like to share with us. I wish I could express to you what you mean to me. I just don't have the words. Your sister who loves you unconditionally and forever. And I'm grateful for this message. You see, I am very grateful because it's like this is how energy starts transcending itself, right? This is in not participating, in allowing people to just express their truth, no matter what he says. You have to affirm, you have to know that they're not talking about you, they're just talking about themselves. So why condemn anybody? In allowing all of us to just say the things that hurt us the most. We get to give each other a space to evolve, right? So this was a hard thing for me to learn, because I used to get triggered by things like this, right? So in observing this message, I was grateful. So I sent her a heart, a hug emoji. Silence is very important. You have to stay. Shh. Time to shut the fuck up. You have to be able to do that to yourself. And this is how I smack people with my golden dick. You see, in silence, it can be done as well. You sneak in some rainbow so they can look at themselves and not make it about anybody else. So I sent a hug emoji. And as I shared my video about my sexual abuse, right? Again, you see, she came back. And this is what I want to read. Good morning, Jen. I hope you had a good night's sleep. After watching your videos and rereading your emails, I am now clearly connecting the dots. It is beautiful. This is growth happening. You were severely taken advantage of and betrayed by Derek and his friends, which triggered all your past traumas. Jen, I am so sorry I wasn't more present for you during such a confusing and trying time. I didn't know what you were enduring. I get a sense that you are still, in a way, trying to protect them. But that's probably because you are still